Hey everyone, Anthony here. This is the new Fujifilm X-T30 Mkiii. Now, in today's video, I'm gonna unbox the camera, share a little bit about the camera, along with maybe a couple JPEG images if I can get out and shoot with this camera a little bit. This is a big upgrade over the version 2, so let's take a look. So in the box, there is not a whole lot. There is a camera strap, and this is just standard stuff from Fujifilm cameras. There's a USB-C to headphone jack for monitoring audio, because on the X-T30 cameras, they're usually so tiny and usually packed with some heavy video specs, but then there's no way to actually monitor the audio coming out of the camera, but through this USB-C port. So you need this little dongle, and this will come in handy. Then there is the camera. This is a 26 megapixel camera with 8 frames per second mechanical shutter mode. That is the same as the previous version, but this has the X Processor 5, so a newer, faster processor in there, and wait until you hear about some of these video specs. But first, let's look at the camera body, and man, you gotta love that little film simulation dial on top of the camera. That's new on the version 3 here, and we're still sticking with this tiny little body design. I really see this as like a perfect photo enthusiast camera, and if you want a one and done lens, then I would pair this perfectly with this tiny little f2 23 millimeter lens. Look at how perfect this little setup is. It's nearly like pocketable. And then you have this small pop-up flash using this little button right here. It just flies out the top like an accessory on Batman's crime fighting outfit. So that is pretty cool, and I know people are gonna love that. The thing that you have to know with the X-T30 Mkiii, though, is it doesn't have a flip-out screen. So this is not like a vlogger tool, but it could be a powerful budget filmmaker tool if you're using tripods and working in a studio, or just simply making short films and working behind the camera. This does not have IBIS. The previous version didn't either, and you would have to look towards either like that X-T50 if you want IBIS, or the XS line if you want the flip-out screen. This screen is just like a tilt up and tilt down kind of action as well, so a little bit disappointing there. But let's take a look about the price, because this is impressive. $1249.99 Canadian maple loonies. That is quite amazing for what you get here, because we haven't gone over the video specs yet, but think about this. The previous version was released in 2021, and this came in at $1124.99. This camera is $1249.99, and considering everything that's going on with like tariffs, you got to give Fujifilm a round of applause, because that is not a wild jump at all. And here are the video specs, which is like a massive improvement and a massive jump up there. This camera has 6.2K open gate recording, which is something you never see at this price point, so the value for money here is fantastic. These shots right out of the camera look so good, and if you wanted more, you could actually shoot 12-bit ProRes BlackMagic RAW through the micro HDMI port. So if you rig this up with some small rig accessories, then you could have a really powerful cinema tool. On its own, it has 13 plus stops of dynamic range in F-Log recording, so you will have to do some color grading and such, and you can see that the video is always surprising on these like XT 2-digit cameras, especially for this price point. Now, lacking IBIS and a flip-out screen could be a deal breaker for someone who is like that run and gun kind of vlogger photographer. There's gonna be two types of shooters who I think will go for something like this. One will be that traditional photographer, somebody who may want to take like the odd video clip here and there, because this camera is so small, and because Fujifilm lenses are also very small, this would be perfect for travel photographers as like a travel photography camera and just like a run and gun kind of tool. But then there's gonna be the budget conscious video shooter who just wants to make like short films, or other people that could use this as a very powerful filmmaker tool if you're somebody who isn't in front of the camera and recording solo. So if you're willing to stick to like tripod, or like rig this up and have the camera be a little bit heavier, either of those things will make lack of IBIS not such a big deal. So I can tell you, when I make short films, I will handhold the camera very rarely, but when I do, having a heavier camera is just so much better. So if you throw this into the cage and then maybe add something like a V-mount battery, this would be one way to go, and take this tiny little camera and make this a very powerful filmmaker tool. The quality is definitely there, and then you want a few things like cage, a monitor, and like a V-mount battery to take this to that next level. It's that, or stick to the tripod shots and let the action play out on screen. Now, the pioneer of gluing a camera to a tripod and letting the scene play out is someone who I would watch all the time as a kid, and that was Mr. Bean. In these comedy style videos, he would always say the camera doesn't have to move. It's actually funnier that the camera stays still and it just lets that awkwardness add to the character doing awkward things. Now, I love doing sketch comedy kind of videos with other people, and then product videos, of course, as well, in studio, where I'm often just on a tripod and behind the camera. Getting a monitor would definitely make this an incredibly affordable like YouTube camera, and I'm actually using that kind of setup right here. And then, of course, if you're adding that V-mount battery, it kind of just makes the camera weigh a little bit more. So naturally, you're going to get smoother video with a heavier camera. So to wrap things up on the X-T30 Mark III, let me give you some final thoughts. First of all, I've had quite a bit of time with this camera now, and what I gotta say is that this camera is just a fun camera to use, especially paired with some of these smaller prime lenses, or even like there is a kit lens. The 13 to 33 millimeter lens, that is going to come under $1,500, and then of course the body on its own is well under $1,500. As well. So this is just such a great entry point for photographers, but also for videographers. I could not believe that this shot right here was shot just straight out of the camera, and because you have that extra resolution, I'm watching it on my computer and I'm like, wow, there's so much detail in that shot. Hopefully it comes through on YouTube as well. It looks fantastic straight out of the camera, no edits applied, and that's all thanks to the Fujifilm film simulations that are very accessible on top of the camera. And they've really laid out all of the best film simulations on this dial, which is very convenient to use and just switch between your favorite. I really like Astia, especially for video, because it's not too dramatic, but it's also enough where you're like, holy smokes, this actually looks really good right out of the camera. And you have classic negative on there as well. Acros and Velvia are some of other people's favorites as well. So it's all available on that film simulation dial here. So that is fantastic. The video, like I said, right out of the camera, it was just so impressive. And I can't believe you can get this for under $1,500, which is, it's just mind blowing that there's a camera available on the market right now that gives you 6.2K open gate for under $1,500, like well under $1,500 body only. And then, like I said, that kit is going to come with the 13 to 33 millimeter lens just under $1,500, which is wild. So this is such an enjoyable camera to shoot with. If you're interested, hit the links down below, and there might be more coming in 2025. Maybe not from Fujifilm, but you're definitely going to hear about it first on the Henry's YouTube channel. Thanks so much for listening. My name's Anthony, and we'll see you in the next one.